Hello there, everybody, and welcome to Game 2 of the Elimination Bracket Finals of the Sunbros 1v1 tournament. LFS facing off against Dunamai on the map Nile, Niger River. What's the...
This is Nile Valley.
I am all over the place.
One of the requirements of this job, sir, is to know the geographical spread of rivers throughout the continent of Africa. So question your merits.
Professional casts. I'm not at all getting called out by my co-host. I'm joined, by the way, this is Platypus Slayer. I'm General Spades. And this is a map.
That's probably the smartest thing I'll say all day. So I'll let you take over from here again.
Appreciate that, Plat. Really do. So LFS here picks the map. He picked this map. And then Dunamai picks his civ, so he picks Lakota. One of his off-main civs, I think, but still very effective with it. And then the counter pick for LFS being Italy. It's a very interesting civ. We've seen them, I think, only one other time in this tournament so far, and that was Dunamai doing a Musketeer rush in round 1 of the winner's bracket. The upper bracket, I believe. Don't quote me on that, though.
That is correct. Now, something to think about, though, since the first time Dunamai used Lakota, they've been reworked. This patch is with the new rework. We did ban the Seven Councils Fire card. It was actually Dunamai who suggested it, feeling that it was way overtuned, and the rest of the tournament agreed with it. So, this is a brand new civ. For those of you not familiar, Lakota was a legacy civ. They recently got a massive overhaul. Almost every unit's been touched. So, I really have no idea what he's going to do with this. We do know that Lakota has always been good with rushes, good with cavalry. So I expect early pressure, lots of hunting, TPs, and the ever-present bow rider.
The ever-present bow rider. We're going to take a look at this deck. Here is Friendly Territory, one of those new cards you speak of. So Lakota getting a change to their, basically the entire civ. Their starting crate amounts, the TPs now with cards do like 5 different things, but without a card increases gather rate by, I think, 10%. Maybe it's 20.
Correct. It's 10% base. The TPs give out all res by 12.5% on top of a few other buffs. So, Lakota's been really encouraged, instead of building like 20 in one spot into stack, since they no longer stack, but they have a small aura with a bunch of incredible buffs, is to spread them across the map. And again, it's a brand new civ, so we'll see if Dunamai utilizes that or not. He might stick to old strategies. He might stick to a new one. We will find out.
Indeed, we will. Very classic Lakota strategy that we're seeing so far here is to run around at, what is this, like 20 movement speed, 7.76, close enough. And
feels that way.
It really does. And try and steal treasures, do a lot of scouting. Is now aging up with the Chief. We took a look at his deck a little bit earlier. Hasn't sent the TP's card yet. Might send that with his second shipment.
You will notice the lack of an Age 2 Villager shipment. They did take that away from Lakota. They also took away one of the Cavalry Combat cards. But otherwise, you've got the Club Warriors, you've got Axe Riders, you've got crates to support Axe or Bow Rider. Like we said, Lakota's really effective at hunting. I think with hunting dogs, you're looking at 32% if you're under a TP.
Absolutely incredible. Unfortunately for Dunamai, must have been microing at his base and missed the opportunity to steal that treasure, which would have been pretty easy for him to do. For Eyes of the Wololo there.
Eyes of the Wololo. Excellent name.
We're going to go over to LFS and see what he's done. Literally just rebuilt the beginner deck. This looks pretty standard with a lot of Merc shipments instead of some of the other stuff that you might expect to see. So Merc heavy, sending capitalism. Going to be putting a lot of people on all the res to try and macro for 300 of each. for either Broken Lance or Croatian or Maltese. One of those three. Perhaps all three eventually are coming out. Now getting steel traps. Italy getting extra villagers with every tech that they get. So a standard thing to do is to get all your market techs early. And so that way, Italy only starts out with 3 villagers. So, you're at 15 villagers at a decent chunk of time, and you're still able to train villagers in transition.
Boy,
Thanks
that
to
is one
that.
hungry hippo.
That is yes. And unfortunately for him, he was never taught how to get out of the water. So he's just going to stand here.
Do not come to us for hippo safety tips. I get the feeling that this probably would not work in real life.
I think if you tried this on the African savannah, you would end up getting eaten alive. So, yeah, realistic game. Definitely
what it was?
full realism.
Because it's a game set in the past, the hippos haven't learned that their legs are quite functional on land.
Oh,
so
you know what? That's it. That's absolutely right.
perhaps it was this incident that actually precipitated the
evolution at its finest. The hippos took this lesson and learned how to get out of the water so it would never happen again. Oh my goodness. So the saloon's coming out for LFS here, who aged up with the governor, didn't send advanced politicians, so only got the 200 chests of coin instead of the 4. Sending Trattoria, which is the 3 banks, or the 3 saloons, on top of capitalism, so the coin income is going to be rolling in pretty soon. And now finds himself with enough res to send Croatian company, just like that.
And, these units are going to be really problematic for Lakota. You have the Krabat, which is almost like a hard counter to any sort of heavy cav, right? It does 50 damage a swipe in melee. It does really good damage at range. It nukes just about everything but skirms, and even then it can trade favorably if it has its promotions because it has so much HP and does such damage with attack speed reduced for every time it kills a military unit. The Schiavoni are anti-skirm skirms that still, because of their 20 range and slight multiplier, can beat up heavy infantry too, so this might be a tough going for Lakota.
I did just take a look at the Lakota's deck name. It is JLFI, which leads me to believe this is meant to be a fast industrial, which these Croatian companies, Krabats and Schiavoni, will very potentially throw a wrench in the plan as this, as Eyes of the Wololo is just going to die. Yep. Going to go down 100 XP going in LFS's favor.
That is massive. Lakota, Native American civs, they can't ransom. They actually have to use their community plaza to dance. Their explorer back, which is a 100 wood investment. Not to mention it takes time, takes villagers. Lakota, it's so integral. It makes them faster, and speed is everything to a cavalry civ, as we're probably about to see, because those Kravats are 7.25 speed, I believe, or are they 7?
7. Notice how the crocodile does know how to get out of the water, so he did his best to avoid those. Just gonna throw that out there. The crocs have been around for a while. They've evolved at this point in history.
You can just leave the crocs alone. This map was probably designed definitely not by a crocodile to give you a false sense of security. Is this villager gonna go down?
Krabats going to hop on, going to be, looks like they might get one. No, he had a sliver of health left. The Krabat's going to go away. Another important thing to note is that Krabats do not promote from villagers. They have to kill military units. The Schiavoni now waiting in the wings. All these Krabats are going to be running around trying to find any extra vills. Not going to be doing that.
And this is what makes that shipment just so deadly. Is okay. These units, even though they hit like a truck, they are actually dragoons. And because they're dragoons, the only thing that counters them is skirms. And what is the other part of the shipment? Anti-skirm skirms. What beats what beats skirms units typically? Cannons or heavy cav. So when this unit comes out, it's the combination of the two. It covers all of your counter system until age 3.
And especially for a Lakota player who, those are some interesting, building inside the, is this a tribal marketplace? Oh, that makes sense.
Right.
Okay. Lakota doesn't even have cannons.
Correct. Well,
So
yes.
this is an easy way to get cannons anyway. So this is doubly impactful on the Lakota player who really has to make, whose favorite unit is Cav. He's training some Wakina rifle, at least pre-patch was Cav, you know, the bow rider, axe rider spam. Now it would appear to be a little bit more infantry oriented than it was in the past. But you've got these two units that counter literally everything that you bring to the table. So it's going to be interesting from Lakota to see. I think the best bet is to actually probably try and follow through with this FI. As we pop over to his deck, is not aging to 3 quite yet, does have the resource for it. LFS is aging to 3 behind this with the bishop. Going to get the second town center coming up, and let's see. Let's take a look at what he's done in his base. We've got a basilica going up. Does he have 2 architects? No, he's building a basilica with a settler, and the architect is building those houses for free. Does have another shipment now.
Italy does have a, I guess you could say a bonus, but really like a malus to their XP requirements, meaning that they need more XP for each shipment. I believe it's 8%. So that Basilica is really going to help him, especially overcome Lakota, which has no issues with that.
Interesting missing card from the, ignore that by the way, you didn't see that. Interesting card missing from the Lakota player's deck is Uffizi, which makes Lombards trickle in resource XP as well as the while they're converting resources over. On 23 Vils now to Dunamai's 22, so managing to keep up with the Lakota eco despite going pretty heavy on the mercs. Is floating quite a bit of coin. Would be nice to have a Lombard maybe drop 300 or 600 of that coin in.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he's trying to micro for one of these, either Black Company or probably Albanian Company at this point for the Bosniaks and the Stratius.
I saw a 30 pop go over there. Did he lose like a skirm or something?
Potentially maybe lost a Wakina rifle to a pot shot. Not quite sure. We're going to hop over to Dunamai, who did end up clicking up to 4 with the warrior. He's going to get these champion Tokala soldiers. And as we look into his deck here, we've got nothing but military shipments. So this is a very telegraphed deck. If LFS looked at Dunamai's deck, he would have seen 9 age 4 cards.
I mean, LFS's deck isn't exactly subtle either. It's literally all the mercs all the time. It's like, I want to make a 15th century Italian merc captain blush, you know. And it's gotten him really far. It's a very effective because there's just so many different units doing different things. A lot of it's new stuff, and you know, the new DE stuff, people haven't quite figured out how to counter all of it. You know, some of their stuff is really unique, and so if you're not experienced against stuff like the Canary Guard or the Cravat, like, you're gonna be at a loss to fight it, because you know they may hit like one unit and look like one unit, but they're actually something different. And they all mostly shadow tech, aka age up and get veterancies every age for free. So
priests actually coming in from the Basilica here instead of something like Papal Lancers, which would be what I would expect, but priests are going to come and heal up the Krabats that took some damage, and everybody's going to be pushing in? No, it's just a little dance. We're seeing what everybody's got. Dunamai is an age up from LFS here, so has that advantage, is losing in score, but Italy has been known to overscore a little bit, so it's actually a pretty even game, it would appear right now. If we take a look at Dunamai's deck, let's see what he has here. He's got 14 Wakinas, 3 Tokala soldiers, and then the poor old Eyes of the Wololo back in base. Meanwhile, we look at LFS here, who doesn't have a huge force in terms of military as a villager goes down. But these are very expensive units. So he's got, what is this now? 6 Krabats, the Canary Guard, and some Schiavonis behind this. So at this point in the game, who would you give the advantage to, Platt?
Well, you know, the thing about an FI is that you're not going to necessarily have the strongest eco behind it. Italy has an amazing Age 4. He's got all these merc shipments. You know, Dunamai's kind of been passive, and you know, maybe he's trying to figure out what to do against all of this stuff. Maybe he has like a longer game plan, but he's kind of losing a little bit of momentum. The score is dead even though, so you know, with LFS being the lower age and most of the units now for Lakota getting their, you know, Age 4 upgrades.
And that is a huge pop of Wakina rifle. Looks like he sent the 18 Wakina rifle card. And then this is where 7 Council Fires would come in handy, because these are elite Wakina rifles. You could send 7 Council Fires. All of those are immediately champion status, as well as any other unit that you make from the War Hut is automatically champion status, and that would give Dunamai a huge advantage. But the tournament admins have decided, and Dunamai himself have decided, that it was really too much. So interesting to see how this plays out. The battle is starting to go down. There's a plus 30, another Krabat going down to the Wakina rifles. As now even more. Is this 49 Wakina rifles and 7 Tokala soldiers coming in? So this could be a pretty deadly force.
But the question, you know, again, he's not pushing, and he doesn't have a lot of siege behind this either. Although the Tokala have pretty high siege for the cavalry unit. So I guess the next question is, what is LFS? Is he aging behind this?
We'll hop over to his deck. He is not planning on aging anytime soon. If anything, he's probably looking to send another Merc shipment here, maybe Broken Lance Company. He's got the res for that, or maybe save up for another 500. So Black Company or Albanian Company could even send Habsburg allies right now if he had a shipment. I will say, we saw earlier the trading post that LFS, that Dunamai built, went down, which really is hindering Dunamai's age up process. We're going to see him push in here, or not age up process, but shipment curve. So, you know, with that shipment curve, if he had that trade post, he'd definitely have another shipment to be sending right now to assist with that push. So very well done on LFS's side to deal with that. We now see Veteran Hussar decide against it. Krabats, another Krabat going down. So this push is looking pretty deadly for LFS here, or for Dunamai here. I don't know why I keep on getting them all mixed up. Pardon me. I promise you I know what I'm doing.
I don't promise anyone that. But you know, yeah, we're kind of at a standstill. This is oh, here come Club Warriors.
So yeah,
Boy,
seven Council Fires would make these unupgraded Club Warriors champion Club Warriors.
Maybe he's regretting bringing that to our attention. Yeah. Spirit of fairness.
Yeah.
All right. So, what are those things? Are those Canary Guards that are going? Oh, well, they're dead now.
Those are dead. Looks like dead Canary Guards. The push coming in. These Wakina rifle obviously don't have the best siege, but just the pure mass of them might be making the difference here, deciding not to go for the outpost, instead sending his forces over to the Basilica. He's on 32 vills right now. We're going to pop over to LFS's perspective. He's on 38, so the techs, especially with this Milanese arsenal, coming in handy for LFS to get villager advantages. The Huss decide to dive on to the Wakina rifles, and a cab fight is going down, and no one's falling off their horses. Platt, no one's falling off their horses. This is incredible.
Hussar are doing a really solid job. You know, I mean, it's like, it looks like, you know, Dunamai got maybe a little overconfident, and maybe he just wanted to prove a point that I can win without bow riders. But boy, I bet he's missing them right around now. Even the Club Warriors. But I mean, he's cleaning up, but he's losing his mass with every shot.
So these Wakina rifles have been surrounded. These Club Warriors unupgraded aren't really going to do much to the veteran.
Oh,
Oh, and
here are
there's the mounted infantry.
yep. Because
That is the wrong
in
deck.
DE they said, you know what, we're missing lancers that shoot.
So the Habsburg allies coming in. This is, what are they called? Veteran, yeah, mounted infantry. Now they're dismounted infantry. Now they've become skirms.
It might have been the wrong call into Tokala, but
Skirm.
you know, nonetheless, you know, it's looking really solid for Dunamai. But oh, and here comes another shipment from Italy.
And there's
Getting-
more hussars coming in. Italy, yep, and there's Black Company gonna come in, and I don't know if that's the right call here. Actually, I mean the massive Wakina rifles still not fully upgraded, only elite, still 32 of them, so has lost a decent chunk. The Hussar are gonna dive on this. Let's see if they can whittle the Hussar force down. The Hussar are actually gonna take out the Tokala soldiers.
Kills it. Oh, ooh, that's a little bit of a micro there, because he's just basically giving him free hits. And you know, that mass, Wakita are not the strongest skirms in the game. That mass is now hit a point where he's not going to be able to push behind this. I mean, he has the score lead. He's done massive damage, but
the Club Warriors unfortunately hopping over to the Architect instead of and letting these veteran Hussars do work on all the Wakina rifles, finally dragging the Hussars away from the mass of skirm units. And unfortunately, it's a little too late. Now only on 11 Wakina rifles, as there is the Black Riders Company, and this is going to be where the mass might change.
Bow riders or rifle riders?
Those are Tokala soldiers and rifle riders. So rifle riders going to be able to counter heavy infantry, and that's pretty much it. These Black Riders going to probably end up doing work on the rifle riders, as they instead decide to focus on, I think those were Club Warriors that all went down. We're gonna hop back over to Dunamai's perspective, is finally sending Great Hunter for that is a lot of resources. 1,281 food gonna pop up in LFS's resource bank once that card comes in, and more mercs. You said at the beginning, Platt. Now German company, so the Jaegers and Giant Grenadiers. Yes, Giant Grenadiers coming out. The more Canary Guard coming in, and this is looking pretty good for LFS. All of a sudden, the Black Riders hopping on the Rifle Riders. The
Pistoliers too.
The Wakina rifles still being battled by some Hussar and some armored. Yep, the armored Pistoliers, like you said. And the Rifle Riders gonna have to back out. And poor Eyes of the Wololo still dead in LFS's base.
Yeah, we're definitely seeing really just the power of these merc shipments, you know, and most of these are, you know, all of Italy's shipments are special, right? So its resources are cost a little bit different. They tend to actually get pretty massive merc shipments, and for a bit cheaper. So, oof,
there's some Hussar hopping in on the back line. And at the same time, the Rifle Riders get wiped by this mass, and that is a wipe. The scores have officially flip-flopped. LFS now outscoring Dunamai here by over 1,000, as he's just now getting another shipment. Maybe market sells. What does he have else to ship? He's got some Age 2 merc shipments he could possibly sell for. Deciding to send 1,000 food instead. Does he have any Lombards up? Still no Lombards. Still just deciding to build houses. And Zenata Riders now.
Oh yes, the better Manchu. It is. It's literally a better Manchu. For those not familiar, Manchus are the best cav archer / goon mercenaries, or they were. In DE, the African expansion in particular, they upped the ante on a lot of mercs. So it's a stronger merc. There are some areas that the Manchu can kind of pull through, but in this situation, that Zenata is huge. And again, you have the best S-tier goon versus the cav civ. So That was really smart of him. I don't know if it was on purpose, but if he picked this map on purpose, that is quite the clever play, and it's paying off for him.
Now has a mass of quite a lot of mercs. 5 giant grenadiers, Zanata riders, 6 veteran hussars come in to deal with the Wakina rifles, which he has seen nothing but pretty much from Dunamai. Still has the Jaegers, has 1
Raid on his
Canary
eco.
guard. The raid on his eco is huge as we pop over to Dunamai here, who in response to all of this only has 15 Wakina rifles.
Something to think about too. For a native civ, another weakness to native civs is they cannot train spies. They have to send a card to make their scouts effectively spies. So, it's not a meta thing to bring those, scouts to be used as spies. And I think right now he's probably really wishing, man, that would have been a great card to have, because these mercs have been just rolling over him. These are age 3 mercs. I mean, this guy's an entire age ahead, but to be fair, his troops are also not upgraded. And
finally getting the club warriors, or at some point got the club warriors to elite, and is now trying to spam them from his war huts. But he's got 17 idle vills now, as all these units are fairly tanky for age 3 units. And essentially this, being an age up means nothing, because like you said, A, not able to send 7 council fighters, B, doesn't have the eco to get his units up to age 4 quality anyways, and C, I could even argue, is when you lost the massive Wakina rifles in Dunamai, or in LFS's base at the end of the game, or in the middle of the game there, you really force yourself to remass instead of trying to boom behind it. Now you've got giant grenadiers in your base, and now I don't know what you do to get back in this. The score lead has grown to almost 9k, Plat.
I don't know either. This is just simply put, this is a tough spot. And now Italy's aging to 4. You've got a military mass of mercs on top of it. I mean, not just any military, but an extremely tough, unit composition. Lakota played a pretty clean game, but his lack of anti-cav kind of bit him, and not being able to upgrade stuff. And again, this is a brand new civ, so the strategies that worked. Oh, he can't even run before the Huss are on him.
And he's got nowhere to run. I guess he's got a war hut down here, but I mean, you're gonna lose 3 or 4 vills at least. Maybe not. Okay, 1, maybe 2. 2.
Wakina are only going to get you so far.
Yeah, these Hussars going to be here. Meanwhile, you got the giant grenadiers still sieging down your TC. You hop over to Dunamai's perspective. He's got 6 vills that are gathering right now. Hussar everywhere. These Wakina rifles are useless against the Hussar. You've got some Tashunki Prowlers in here, which is an interesting decision. They're in stealth, so that may work. And there's LFS hitting age 4 with the Papal Guard shipments. So
all his mercs too, just shadow teched. So some of his outlaws also shadow teched to age 4. So he just basically, his entire army just got veterancy for free, or guard status for free in essence.
Elite Club Warriors, as LFS does his best to try, and Dunamai does his best to try and get out of here. The Tashunki Prowlers going to wipe out this merc shipment almost in its entirety. These Zenata riders doing their best, but are going to go down. But here are the Papal Guard. The Papal Guard show up, potentially save the day. Nope, they're gonna chase the Chunky Prowlers away. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, LFS, he's done an excellent job of keeping his mercs alive. They bought him time. Again, he didn't FI, so he has probably a stronger eco behind this, and Dunamai's lost a bunch.
We are in an exact opposite scenario that we were in game 1. Now LFS on 49 to Dunamai's 23. So, yep, you've got twice the Vil count. Dunamai doesn't even have a town center at this point, desperately chopping to get that to try and stay in the game. The one possible saving grace that you have is, never mind, you've sent all your age 4 military shipments. All you've got left are Axe Riders, which my guess would be are not upgraded at this point. You've got the Club Warriors, which are elite level, but now you're down. You know, now your opponent is up to age 4 with you. And he's got... Wrong button. He's got 3 TCs that he's booming out of. 55, about to be, you know... By the time you're even back in the game as Dunamai, your opponent has 70 vills, and you're barely at 30 probably by that point. Deciding to build his town center up in the corner, finding these this last little batch of resource pocket. Another interesting thing that we didn't mention earlier in the game, but camp movements was sent by Dunamai, and he never utilized it. So I'm not exactly sure what buildings can be moved, but I imagine the town post.
We got some Tashunki on the prowl. I mean, they are seeing villagers. But look, that's a lot of mercenaries. Yeah,
Corsair marksmen, as the Tashunkis are gonna hop on the villagers, and that's 4 or 5. All those villagers are going to die. Tashunki gonna get out. This is a good job. I have to say, good job by LFS or by Dunamai to try and get back in this game, taking the rifle riders to distract the blue army and get the Tashunki prowlers back into stealth. So excellent micro by Dunamai there, hoping to get these Tashunkis on some more villagers to try and get back in the game. This is interesting. Well, we're gonna do this real quick, and all of a sudden you kind of wonder why your units are everywhere, and then the Tashunki come out of stealth and hop on the Corsair marksman. That's a lot of red numbers for Dunamai here, as this whole army may end up going down.
He's got Desert Warriors, and those things just wreck cavalry and melee. So, nonetheless, though, man, what a slick move. That's why Tashunkis, I think, are the nightmare of any Lakota foe, because at any moment, right, they're there.
I think they're probably a pretty underutilized unit for most Lakota players. I could be wrong, but their power is on full display here, and obviously they get stronger as you have more of them. Explorer obviously catching these two, pulling them out of stealth, and the Desert Warriors are going to hop onto one of the last bastions of resources that Dunamai has. These elite club warriors going to try and dive on the Desert Warriors here, and it looks like it might be about a 50-50 fight. No.
Alright, but you know what though, if you're Dunamai, you don't want a 50-50 fight.
No, you need to be winning. You need the Tashunki Prowlers, and sure enough, it's not really going to matter because you've got some Royal Guard Musketeers. You've now got raids on your only town center.
Yeah.
And if you're Dunamai now, you're down on 22 vills, so losing even more now. And you just don't have the res to get in. The score lead has doubled for LFS, and I think it's pretty safe to call it here. We'll wait for the official word from Dunamai, and there it is. Dunamai does end up calling the game. LFS, decisive game 2 victory, Platypus Slayer.
You know, it was a good, Dunamai, he had a good idea, but I think the lack of anti-cav on his push kind of did him in. You know, the thing about an FI is it's fast, but you all your cards are not eco or defensive, right? So once your shipments are gone, you kind of lose tempo. Whereas, you know, LFS just kept sending shipment after shipment of these mercs. You know, he sent in some Basilica stuff. I think he really showed off, you know, the power of the new merc build by being patient, playing very clean, you know, not throwing away his units, mixing in Hussar in there. Yeah, wow. Taking the trading post early. I mean, he just did everything to his advantage. And, you know, Dunamai had a great strategy. It was a clean strategy. He had the advantage for a long time, but he just wasn't able to close out the game in the total time that he would have liked it to be. So I think kudos to LFS for using a strategy that has been used a few times, but isn't typically meta. But basically saying, hey, all this new DE stuff that does crazy stuff, like, what if I had all of it? All. And not only that, but he used each unit smartly. He did his research, he did his homework, he knew how to put each merc into each unit and not let it be countered too hard. And Dunamai again, he had a brand new civ, so credit to him for walking in. I think at the time, what, 2 weeks ago, that the patch had rolled out.
It was very early into Knights of the Mediterranean, that is for sure. People still hadn't figured out what was good, and I still don't think, that we're recording this sometime into the future now. But I still don't think people have fully figured out what ideal play is for Italy.
And Lakota too. I mean, we know there's a couple pretty gnarly rushes, but other than that, the dust hasn't quite settled where Lakota stacks up. So, 2 players played new civs, and I hope the people watching got to enjoy these kind of really unique interpretations. They're not necessarily unique, but new interpretations of these civilizations.
Well played to both of these players, like you said. Very interested to see. This looks like it's going to be a good back and forth series, probably. I mean, it looked pretty early like Dunamai was going to take the game to victory and get on match point, and LFS just never gave up and levied the power, like you said, of a very specifically crafted build that really only Italy can do, and pushed back and ended up being a very decisive victory for LFS. So we're looking forward to Game 3. That'll be up soon. If you liked this game, like it in the button thing. If you want to see more, subscribe. And I think that's all I have to say. Share it with your friends. Tell everybody about us. We're cool. Join the Discord. Hey, that's it. Join the Discord. There's a link down in the description for you to join the Discord.
If you liked what you saw, or you're like, oh man, these guys are scrubs, but I'm a scrub too. Like, please come in. Like I said, this is mid-level to lower level gaming, and we're just trying to have a good time and give out opportunities that most of us would be crushed by the Kaiser Kleins and top players of the world. But here's that level where if you have something kind of creative, come in and show us.
We look forward to seeing you in the Discord, and looking forward to seeing you around in the next video. Comment down below too what your favorite part of the video is, I guess, if you got it to this far. I'm proud of you. We'll see you in the next one. Peace out.
You did. Later. I like that. Proud of you.